Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And good morning, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And this is Ministers Talking Shit. It is January 23rd. Oh my gosh, here we are 3 weeks into January. And dear President Trump is off the rails again. I think it was pretty telling. See, the man gets up. He got off the helicopter for this Davos summit in Switzerland. They lay out a red carpet for him, but there's nobody there to greet him. There's nobody standing on the sidelines. He's pretty much alone on a icy background with a red carpet, and he can't walk a straight line. The guy's weaving around like he's got 16 cocktails in him on a Saturday night. He can't walk a straight line. And like, how hard is it to go from here to there in a run? He isn't even close. He's just like wandering all over the place. It's embarrassing.
Well, I really think that our current commander-in-chief is all chiefed out. When you look like now, for those who may not be familiar with that summit over in Davos, it happens every year. It's a financial primary conference where people go. I mean, they have all the things there, if you will, but it's a financial event, and they're looking at global economy and some new stuff that's coming out and perspectives. And for him to go there and like it's his press conference with the world, and how and for him to just ramble on about how he's literally bullying the globe, not only the individual countries, the NATO and everything. And so now Europe is all upset after this whole statements and fiasco, if you will, that he's putting forth to NATO. And it's going to be interesting to see, how this plays out after he's backed off of the whole Greenland thing, but he's still saying we can get parts of. I mean, I don't know what the final thing is tonight. It's like hopscotch, it's jumping all around. But
yeah,
he is drunk with power.
I saw some footage that emerged this weekend, over the week, and it's from a number of years back, and it's Pete Hegseth, and he's criticizing Trump. And this was before he was part of the in crowd. I guess this was maybe an audition tape while he was on the air with Fox, but he's basically saying, this guy, he talks a big game. He is full of bluster and bullshit. And then when somebody says, "Nah, you can't do that, that's illegal," then he backs down. And it feels like this is the same thing we're seeing with Greenland, and we've seen it again and again and again and again. He's a bully with a big bullhorn, but eventually, on most things, when he gets any sort of pushback or it doesn't go his way, he backs down and he backpedals on stuff and truthfully, all this is going on while we have an American city under siege by its own government. We've got people on the ground in Minneapolis, and some of the stories I'm being told from firsthand accounts
Mm-hmm.
People who have been involved in the resistance in Minneapolis and coming home to find ICE agents parked out front of their house. 5-year-olds being detained and shipped off to Texas. And Vice President Vance is going there telling locals to cool it off, to cool down, to lower the temperature, to chill out, basically, while 5-year-olds are being detained with their parent, with a parent. And I saw the press conference with JD Vance, and he's like, "What do you want us to do? You want us to leave this kid out in the cold to die, to freeze? Of course we got to take his father's an illegal alien. We've got to take him." It's like, there is a better way to do this. And personally, I think it's disgusting. I am embarrassed to be an American at this point.
This past weekend they had a Saturday Night Live skit. The opening skit on Saturday Night Live was of Trump introducing all of his cabinet, Pete Hegseth and Rubio, and I forget who else was there. But it was hilarious. But it was so true. It's like it was actually, and in my opinion, Saturday Night Live is not what it used to be. Let's just be clear. But this was a funny skit because it was true, and I guess it gives you an opportunity to laugh at the madness that's going on, so that you don't cry. Right. And I just think that at some point we're going to wake up, if we, being humanity, because I mean, as quiet as it kept, we're still considered the leader of the free world, right? We still have lots of power, lots of things to put forth to people to shut them down. And at this rate, I mean, we are saying, okay, we've given the keys to the emperor with no clothes, and nobody is worried about it. Nobody even looking now.
Right.
And we're going to wind up in a very bad place politically, geopolitically, because right now the dollar is sinking, right? Geopolitically, I don't know how far gold is going up because the dollar is sinking.
Yep.
And that's going to be quite interesting. At the end of the day, we created a war that works on money and money substitutes, gold, silver. Now crypto is trying to get into play. Once they get the crypto into play, that's really going to be massive.
And we've got a financial con man running America. Another story that I saw this week.
Yeah.
Jamie Dimon and Bank of America. Now, I've never been a huge fan of Jamie Dimon. I don't always believe in the way he sees the world, and I don't believe in his worldview at times. I don't believe in his worldview. I don't agree with some of the policies, but the end result is, following Trump's first term, Jamie Dimon and Bank of America determined that Donald Trump was a financial risk. This is according to Jamie Dimon. He claimed that he and his bank decided that Trump and his businesses were financially too risky for Bank of America to continue to do business with him, gave him 60-day notice, and did, from Jamie's perspective, everything legally to sever business ties with the man. Trump is crying foul and saying he's been debanked by Jamie Dimon and that it's all politically motivated, and that Bank of America makes it hard to bank with conservative businesses, which, from what I can find, there's no real proof of in any way. And so Trump is suing Jamie Dimon and the Bank of America because they consider him too financially risky to do business with. At the same time, Trump is saying he's going to cap credit card interest at 10% so that no bank can charge more than 10% interest on a credit card. Which Jamie Dimon says, well, that's going to screw everything up because we just won't offer credit to the lower middle class. We won't offer credit to anybody he creates this muck and mire, this quicksand of an environment, and then says, but it's his fault and I'm going to sue his ass for it. And Jamie Dimon can't say really much because it's pending litigation. He's smart enough to know I should keep my mouth shut until the courts decide this. So he pushed back against a reporter who was pushing at him this week and said, what the hell you want me to say? I could keep my mouth shut. We're going to let the courts decide all of this. And time again, we have seen that Trump is not responsible with money. He stiffs his contractors. He's got a long-known history of not paying people. He's filed bankruptcy twice as many times as he's been married, and the guy's been married a handful of times at this point. Who in their right mind would want to work with this man financially? And his crypto coin was nothing but a pump and dump grift. His wife's crypto coin was nothing but a pump and dump grift. He's a financial con man, but he gets to sue the banks that he's conning money out of. This is like Orwell on steroids. This is like Orwell. This is the third verse, the third Reich of Orwell's a masterpiece. Why did I say that out loud? This is, and every day I'm just left totally confused and confounded as how in the hell is this going on?
This. And I want to be real clear on what I'm going to say here. The conservative arm of the country, and I don't even consider the current administration to be the conservative arm. They are the ultra conservative arm, really, because I mean, when you look at things in the way we do it as new thought practitioners, we understand the dynamic tension of the universe. Right. That it's needed, that is elevates consciousness and elevates all things in that realm. But when you don't understand that basic law and you try to bully and force and throw diversionary tactics out to keep people from looking behind the curtain, you get utter chaos. Now, it may not, because cause and effect are not closely related, it may take some time before you see the full effect. At first, it's just an annoyance, and then it's like, but then it becomes a major problem. And here is one thing leading to the next story that I think is going to be interesting. I'll put it that way, is this winter storm that's moving across the country right now.
Right.
The current administration and the ultra conservative have said global warming does not exist. Climate change, pick a name, whatever it is, it doesn't exist. We're going to continue to pump fossil fuel gas and drilling and all this stuff into the environment. And now we have over almost half of the country, like, in dire straits with ice and snow and cold. My son is in Chicago. They're talking about minus 34 degrees in Chicago with wind chill. Now, the Windy City, they got a little reputation, but that hasn't happened in a while.
Yep. My wife is in New Hampshire, scheduled to fly home tomorrow. Southwest called her called her, didn't send an email, called her and said, hey, we'd like you to consider changing your flight and rerouting and flying on Sunday, because there is a very high likelihood that even if you do make it and her flight schedule go from New Hampshire to Baltimore and then Baltimore to Denver, they're saying even if you do make it to Baltimore, there's an incredible likelihood you're going to end up stranded in Baltimore, and it could be a couple of days before we get this all worked out. So she voluntarily chose to wait, fly on Sunday, and fly through Chicago instead of Baltimore to get to Denver. They feel that's the safest route and the route most likely or least likely to be impacted and delayed. And so, a colleague of ours had an ordination scheduled for Dallas this weekend. They've canceled that because of ice and snow in Dallas. Now, you know, you don't normally think of Dallas as being a winter city, and I'm pretty sure Dallas doesn't have the infrastructure, the salt, and the trucks to deal with it. The whole city's going to shut down. The whole southern region is going to shut down for the next 3 days. Interestingly enough, Colorado, we're gonna see about an inch or two of snow here. We're not gonna see any. We're getting some cold temperatures, but we're not gonna get any snow in Colorado. And Colorado, whose economy is dependent upon snow, mountain towns are reporting 20 to 30% drop in income this year over last year, because there's no snow in Colorado comparatively. Now, the mountains might get something out of this storm, but ultimately, we're in an economic free fall. Mountain towns, liquor stores, restaurants, not just the ski areas, all those ancillary businesses are crying, oh my God, because they can't they're not making any money because nobody's coming skiing. If we can't admit the climate is shifting here in America alone, and it's causing huge economic impact everywhere.
Yeah.
When Southwest Airlines is calling its passengers saying, we suggest you don't fly, and it could be several days before we get everything back in order. If you do, the economic impact is atrocious.
Huge. I mean, right now it's minus, the raw temperature is -8 in Chicago. Now, when the winds start coming off that lake, we know that drops tremendously. And
it's almost kind of like the universe is telling us there's far too much ice in the northern in Minnesota right now. You guys got too much ice in Minnesota. It's like,
that's pretty good. You know, but again, I think this shows us the scenario you were just explaining about the effects of the weather on the economic front. It again shows that there's a oneness going on. There is i.e., everything is connected to everything. And you can't just start pulling levers or not pulling levers if it was, and think you can be the master puppeteer in a global cosmic system that is based and stabilized on a dynamic tension of growth and expansion and give and take without screwing something up.
Yep. And you know, it's a really good analogy, the puppet, because I tried doing puppet things a few times in my life. It ain't as easy as it looks. And if you don't know what you're doing, and if you're not moving multiple aspects all at the same time, if you're just trying to pull one string or another, I'm just going to raise this guy's arm, the whole system gets wonky. You start crossing lines, and the next thing you know, your puppet is a mess, and you're frustrated and you give up. And unfortunately, we got a puppet master right now that doesn't know what the hell he's doing. and he's just pulling strings. And let's see what happens here, and let's see what happens here. And we were talking before the show. So Trump announces this Board of Peace thing. He's saying it's $1 billion. Now, some are saying he's trying to replace the UN. And he's campaigned against the UN in the past. It's $1 billion to sign on. And Russia has said, well, you know what? You've got at least $1 billion of money of U.S. currency that in your country that belongs to us that you have frozen. So if you unfreeze that $1 billion, we'll let you keep it to get into this Board of Peace thing, which to me sounds like the ultimate what? But he's asking countries to give him $1 billion for a Board of Peace, while he's threatening war against Greenland because Norway won't give him a peace prize. This is the ultimate petulant child behavior. Oh, you won't give me that cake? Well, I'm going to throw a tantrum until you do. You won't give me a peace prize? Well, maybe I don't have to think about being peaceful anymore. Maybe I'll go and invade Greenland, not violently, because you won't. But on Tuesday, give me $1 billion to start a Board of Peace.
And here's another string on this puppet in that regard, right? So this Board of Peace is as it's been explained, and I haven't gone deep, but I will go a little deeper in studying what the heck he's doing. But it's based off supposedly the peace plan that was supposed to be implemented in Gaza.
Right.
And we see how well that's going. Israel is still attacking Gaza right now, right? After all of this stuff, and we're supposed to stop, they're still withholding resources. And to top that off now, he's putting it on a global scale and saying you need $1 billion to join. Right, another perfect private club.
Yep.
We won't even go down that road. But the thing that's really interesting to me is that he's the president of it, which means that's another thing for him to grab some money and control a big pot of money, and then use that as a bigger hammer than the one he already has, to start bullying people into whatever he wants to do, or his vision of the world. And all we have to do to see what his vision of the world is, last thing, that is Project 2025. Although he said he had nothing to do with it, it's strange that he's almost 60% of that thing has been accomplished in 12 months almost.
Yep. Just over 50%.
But that's not my plan.
Yeah. But that's not my plan. Exactly. And for those that may have wondered, we're gonna talk about the Board of Peace. For those that may have wondered what happened to Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, well, he's resurfaced in this Board of Peace. And Kushner was part of this envoy to Russia this week. So we got Kushner negotiating with Putin and others negotiating with Putin, but the press keeps burying his name in the background like he's not really there. But he's been there all along. This guy's been part of the con. He's the lieutenant. He's the capo sitting to the right of the table saying, I'll take care of that for you, boss. I'll go in there and talk to that guy for you, because it's almost the same exact playbook as 2016 and 2017.
And when I start thinking about this, my mind starts just looking at all the strings that get pulled, right? So one of the things he talked a little bit about this whole thing that's up front now is this affordability perspective across the country and across the globe, quite frankly. And They talk about gas, but the fluctuation at the pump now, not the trading gas, but the gas at the pump in Colorado probably a 2-week period, gas has gone. I went to Costco about 2 weeks ago, filled up my tank for $1.96 a gallon, which was great. I wasn't complaining.
Nope.
In 2 weeks, that gas has gone back up now to $2 and almost 60 cents. Now, that's still better than we've seen it before. But when you look at that swing, how can a family begin to plan for taking care of a family of 4, let's say, when the average grocery bill is going to be about $1,000 to $1,500 for a family of 4?
I can't walk into the grocery store without dropping $100 anymore. You go in for a couple of things, and a couple of things to feed the family, and this is the week where I need toilet paper, and might need and this, and you get 3 bags and you've got $100. And yes, so I agree with you. Economically, I think we're in for an even rockier road, and oil and gas prices have often, for my lifetime, always been a bellwether. And I remember when I was a kid, you would, it's an election year, prices go down, and right after the election, they raise the prices back up again, and everybody, and it was always kind of a way to kiss ass of whoever got into office and make them look good. Now it's all just a grift, and who is bullying who, and who's strong arming who, and who is suing who, and Trump's made a fortune suing companies and corporations that don't agree with him at this point, because they all are willing to settle and just hand him a big load of cash to keep him to get him to drop the lawsuit so they can continue to do business, because otherwise he's going to use the government to put him out of business.
Here's the thing that a tactic that's being used, and a lot of other people are using it, by the way, in that analogy, right? So a friend of mine has a business, and he posted something on his website, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, 10 years ago, because it's like 2016, right? An image. Not too long ago, he got an email saying that image is not your image, and you didn't get permission to do it. And so you need to pay us. And they gave a nominal amount, few $100, to say, just pay us this few $100 and we'll forget it, or we're going to court. Right now, you probably can get 3/4 of the businesses out here that may have taken something off the internet indiscriminately or without knowing everything about it, posted on the site, and they could come. Now, if they charge a nominal amount, they are going to get filthy rich, because they know you're not going to want to go to court, which is what Trump is doing. It's easier for me to pay this X amount, whatever the X amount is, than to go to court and get my name out there, bad publicity, And so they're making money hand over fist.
Yep. And if you happen to here's another part of it. If you happen to be on YouTube, all kinds of companies are springing up, and they'll make false claims against your videos, whether it's music, whether it's the video itself. I've had companies claim that content we have created is actually theirs, and YouTube just says, oh, okay, and demonetizes our video until I go in and say, wait a minute, this is my content. It's got my face on it. It's got my name on it. You can see I made it. How does this described company with 7 letters that don't make any sense claim ownership of this. It's all, and you and I talk about it all the time, right? This is all connected. This is all, and from my perspective, everything we're experiencing is because we've given our government to a con man, to a wannabe mafioso con man. And he has built his family as a crime syndicate. He has built his entire business in the shadow of the mafia. And I can say this because he can come sue me because I ain't got any money to give him. So I ain't worried about saying it. But we've got to, in some way, shape, or form, as an American people, start standing up and say the emperor's got no clothes. And the emperor is sick. And the emperor has, I don't know if he's got bipolar disease or if it's Alzheimer's, or I'm not a doctor and I'm not going to try and diagnose the man, but he is sick in the head at this point. And it's going to take years for us to regain the trust of our allies, of the world, of even our own people. Again, let's not forget, folks, we have an American city under siege by its own government. I spoke with a woman this week directly over the phone, not just a story I heard. Spoke to a woman. She has sort of adopted a Ukrainian family. Now, the husband and the wife came over early in the Ukrainian war. They have a child. They actually have a pet. And rather than abandon the pet in Ukraine, they waited an extra 6 months for the pet to pass customs to come into the country. At the time, the cost for them to have a visa to come to the country, to come into the country, was $200 for the 3 of them and the dog.
Wow.
A little while later, they brought, I think it was his family's parents came over. His brother was lost in the war fighting Russia. They brought his parents over. So they've got a family of 5 plus a dog. The fee the U.S. has imposed to renew that their visa, $8,000. Now, this country was built on the back of immigrants. This country is built on the concept of immigrants coming here to make a better way, to create, to follow the American dream. And these people didn't cross the border illegally. They came here legally. They came here as refugees from a war. They came here and they paid their visa fees, and they've been trying to make a living, and they've been doing their best to make a living for a number of years now. And we just arbitrarily raised their renewal fee to $8,000. Where in the heck can a family like that just come up with an extra $8,000? Now, the good news is there is a GoFundMe, and now this is catching the attention of some New Thought communities, and I know of one New Thought organization that agreed this week to donate $1,000 to help this family stay in the country, and I know of other organizations that are going to follow suit. And once we have that all settled and aren't afraid of retribution, we're going to publicize that and let you know who's been helping these people. But we have a government that's trying to create a white nationalist country, and they're doing it with masks and guns. They're attacking American cities. I saw pictures of truckloads of ICE vehicles coming into Colorado. The DOJ announced yesterday that it's investigating 14 different states that voted blue in the last election for financial fraud. And Colorado's on the hit list, folks. we now more than ever, as spiritual people, as new thoughters, as whatever you want to call us, now's the time to get off our meditation cushions and start speaking and start voting. And people make fun of Nancy Pelosi because she wore a magenta suit to Bobby Weir's memorial and held up a sign that said vote with a deadhead symbol on it. The hippies had it right all along. We got to get together and love one another. We got to stop this immediate vilification of everybody. We have to stand up and say enough is enough. Let's get back to a country that honors people and respects the diversity in our land, rather than trying to create some homogenized white utopia.
Yeah, and you speak of the as they used to call it, the counterculture in the 60s, right? But they put forth a model that I think we need to go back to, which, as you said, love one another, the communal approach, right? The understanding of the oneness of it all, and that it is in community or in relationship that things work. And so, we talked a little bit about the prices of the affordability, which is the next thing they're trying to run on, both Democrats and Republicans, for the midterm. That's going to be a key point, affordability. Yep. And what did they do in those times? They bought in bulk. Everybody pooled their money. They went and bought cases of canned goods and this, that, and the other, dry goods, beans, rice, whatever, and then they distributed it.
Yep.
So that the average cost went way down, because they bought 100 pounds of rice as opposed to 1 pound of rice, and it made for a really good affordability, right, in a communal place. And we have to start looking at those types of ideas. That idea itself may not quite work. I think it would, but we have to begin to look at those kinds of things to say, hey, how can we work together to make life work for everybody? A world that works for all, as we say sometimes, right?
Yep.
We have to figure it out.
I want to address this. We're going to run out of time here, folks, but I can't leave this one sit and go by. Robert White, 7204 on YouTube, respectfully, no. I no longer will ascribe to there is only evil because we believe there is evil. No. There is a misuse of this law. That I believe that is an immature understanding of the New Thought philosophy, and it is spiritual bypassing, because it causes people to say, oh, it's all good and it'll be all good. And we're sending 5-year-olds to Texas because the DHS has said that it's legal to just go into somebody's home. That's against the Constitution. If that's not evil, if that's not wrong, I did respectfully disagree, sir, and I will argue with any new thoughter. And I've been in this philosophy 20 years, and I used to say the same things. There are people that are willfully misusing our principles and the law and the universal principles of creation to do evil, to harm people, to rip people from their homes because they aren't white enough. And to just spout online these platitudes that it's my fault because I believe there's evil. No, I'm sorry. Respectfully, no. Defrock me if you will.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to reframe that whole point with the classic New Thought one of the classic New Thought explanation of it. And that is what we stated earlier. Everything is in relationship to everything else, right? So without up, down has absolutely no meaning. You only know up because of a relationship between down. And it's the same thing with good and evil. It is a relationship between a whole thing or one relationship that people ascribe or place upon it some intrinsic value. But in itself, there is no intrinsic value. It is a relationship that works in a dynamic tension. And if someone willfully starts pushing things outside the bound because they understand the laws, now we're into a whole nother thing. Now we can call it evil, we can call it manipulation, we can call it, misuse of of power, but it is not in line with the wholeness of the universal laws. And so we've chosen to call it evil and say it doesn't exist, or it's right or wrong, or it's good or bad, right? But inherent themselves, I agree with you. There is no meaning on those until we apply it. But there is a cause and effect law in effect here. Stick my hand in the fire, get burned. Because I got Teflon on it or something. We can do things like that. But there are people, or there are powers and principalities, I won't even put it on a person, out to manipulate the system or manipulate the law that causes us to fall into these so-called good and evil things. And they are harmful, and they will take you out. This is what's happening in Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know that we're going to solve the problems of the world, but we're going to contribute to the solutions. I can tell you that. And now more than ever, I was on a phone call yesterday with someone well respected. I don't want to drop her name because but she's more concerned than ever. And this is a woman who's got 40 plus 50 years in the movement and has argued in front of the has submitted briefs that were argued in front of the Supreme Court, and has a deep history in social justice and the Bible, and is convinced now more than ever, New Thought, if we get our shit together and stop navel gazing, can be a true force for good on this planet. There are, from my perspective, however, far too many people that are just willing to sit on the sidelines and pray it all away. And there are far too many people that, not necessarily New Thoughters, but there are far too many people that use what we know of these universal principles to harm others and to line their own pockets and to be concerned only with their own good. And you've heard me saying this a lot lately. There is no private good. When we create good in the world, it's good for everybody. But we can't run around and saying and deny that people are out there doing harm. These ICE agents, yeah, they're going to have to pay a pretty big karmic debt. And as the second Nuremberg trials proved, I was just doing my job is not an excuse for human atrocities and for violating human rights. And there will be a reckoning. And we will be here to see it. And more than ever, as spiritual folk, we cannot stand silently on the sidelines just waiting for it. We've got to do the work. We got to help those families in need. We got to get out in the streets. if you're near Minneapolis right now, don't spend a dime today. Today is economic blackout in Minnesota, and there are going to be large protests across the region in Minnesota and Minneapolis today. And my prayer, we're going to wrap this up here in a minute. I saw this one too. I pray that ICE's violation of our Fourth Amendment rights are not going to run headlong into somebody exercising their Second Amendment rights.
Mm-hmm.
The far right seems to be all too eager to start a new civil war. And the left, well, sooner or later, somebody's going to break down. And Minneapolis is a tinderbox right now. And I'm praying for everybody that's there, those that live there, and the activists that are flooding into that city. Because I know people from Vermont and New Hampshire that packed their cars with food and water and blankets and are on their way to Minneapolis right now to be a part of this action. I don't necessarily agree with it, but they're there. They're going. We're praying for peace across that region right now, and we're praying that the government gets its head out of its ass and stops telling ICE agents they can just go into people's homes without warrants, without judicial warrants. That's dangerous territory, because somebody is going to use the Second Amendment to protect their home. And that's how a civil war gets started. Justin, it gets warm where you are. Stay safe. Stay out of the cold. Stay home if you have to. Texas, bundle up. Don't worry, the sun will come out. And when I was living in Washington State I was only there a little over a year, but when I was living in Washington State, people used to say, it's okay, the sun's shining up there above the clouds somewhere. The sun's shining up there above the clouds somewhere, and it's going to get warm again.
Yeah. Well, I wish everybody a good weekend, and if you're a football fan, there are going to be some great games on. Some of them in some places, you might get some free tickets if it's snowing and you got to go shovel. So keep an eye out. I don't think there's any games in the snow though. But yeah, have a for all the football fans, and especially the Denver Broncos, have a great weekend and go Broncos.
Go Broncos. Love y'all. Until next time, we're going to wish you peace and absolute richest blessings. Bye now.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.